like you. Click the link below or go to my profile to become a member of my channel. Each member makes another video like this possible. A special thanks to all those members who have supported my channel this past month. I love you all, but not you guys. Introducing a huge Discord giveaway. Invite people to my Discord or become a channel member and you can win these prizes listed on the screen. The giveaway will have more information on my Discord with a link below. Make sure to join the Discord. But essentially, the individuals that will invite the most amount of people to my Discord or else gift channel memberships or to get other people to become a member on my channel will have a chance to win these prizes. So, what are you waiting for? Join the Discord. Yeah, take that, Pluto. Yeah. Oh, you want some too, Cortex? Yeah, take that. Hey, Dad. Oh, hi, son. What can I do for you? I was just, cleaning the room. Yeah, I was just cleaning. That's what I was doing. Oh, wait a second. What are you doing away from farming resource nodes on all my accounts? Ah, my eyes! Put the helmet back on! Well, that was a bit rude, don't you think? Well, anyways, you know, Dad, I was just thinking. You know how everyone says 1960 is the greatest kingdom in all of Rise of Kingdoms? Of course it is. Well, what makes them so great? How did we determine that 960 became, you know, the best? Wow. The last time you made tears come to my eyes was when you skipped classes just to train barbarians. Well, my boy, let me tell you a story. One that will show 1960's courage, our passion, and most importantly, our elite never say give up mentality. Is this a story about how you lost your hair? Or is this a story about how my entire university funds just vanished? No, son! The no hair runs to the family! Okay, son, sorry about that earlier. You know, it's just tough thinking about all the hair I don't have. Anyways, are you ready for the story? Now, the story of 1960 begins with this beautiful and insanely smart strategist, G.T. Leopold, who introduced a system where it created 1960 to essentially become a kingdom that just threw money around. That's disgusting. Not very civilized nowadays, is it, Dad? Back to the farms. Sorry, son. I love you. Anyways, after many KvKs and going undefeated, 1960 became the kingdom everyone feared. However, the kingdom itself was home to a great family-like culture. One where all our sugar mommies and daddies went to town on the spend all button. They didn't just throw money at the game, right? They used strategy and ensured balanced fights for everyone, right? Oh heavens no, they kept on fighting, kept on winning, and more importantly, kept on spending. After 9 straight KvKs, that was when 1960 faced their first and only loss, against 1093. See, 1960 might outspend, but 1093 outclassed them in strategy and in overall numbers. By that, I mean facing a heavily weakened 960, but still, a win's a win. But that was when we needed a change. Was that when we died down spending and we focused on strategy and numbers rather than the numbers of gold chests per day? Oh heavens no! That's when the gold chest splurged, baby! We went wild and dominated 3 more straight wins. Dad, 1960 seems like they have no strategy rather than just spending money. Hey, if we only spent money, then will we enforce a rule of needing to buy every KvK tech bundle every KvK? Yes, Dad. Yes, we would. Well, if that's not a change, I don't know what is. "1960 has been a kingdom that has been destroying their enemies for the past 4 years. 1365, destroyed. 1534, destroyed. 2381, destroyed. 2489, destroyed. 1034, destroyed. Any kingdom that tried to fight against 1960 was doomed the moment the KvK matchup was released. What about 1093, Dad? You know what? No one likes a know-it-all. Anyways, 1960 was considered the big daddy of Rise of Kingdoms. Meanwhile, 2377 was just a relatively cute juvenile kingdom that was still just becoming more known throughout the rock community. But don't let that sweet and cute kingdom deceive you. 2377 was a ruthless and merciless fighting kingdom that dreamt of claiming the throne and title of becoming the best kingdom in all of the game. So, when 2377 finished their impressive record of 12 winning KvKs, there was still an immense amount of hype around the kingdom. And what happens when a new powerful kingdom decides its sole determination is to become the best kingdom in all of the game, and when the current best kingdom in the game wants to protect their #1 rank by all means, have the opportunity to register for the same KvK? Well, 1 + 1 equals war. Following 1960's KvK win against 2489, they would instantly line themselves up to face 2377. As for 2377, they felt like there would be no better time to fight 960 than now. As both kingdoms aligned themselves against each other, the tension within the rock community was at an all-time high. Obviously 1960 is going to win. All 1960 does is spend a ton. 2377 not only spends close to 960, but has more players. How dare you! They don't know what they're talking about, my precious. They're there. Don't let whatever anyone says against you get to you. You're the strongest, biggest, sexiest, most perfect kingdom ever. Isn't that a bit, weird? You're weird! So, when the KvK registration finally ended, it was official. 1960 would face 2377, and they would have the opportunity to fight against each other from the start to the end of the KvK. By now, I'm sure you guys are wondering what happened when the KvK opened. Well, hey guys, has anyone heard from Lilith lately? Weird that you mentioned it, but no. Whose idea was it to ensure 2377 and 1960 matched up? It was Jimmy's, sir. I've never been so proud. You deserve an amazing job sticker. Wow, thanks, sir. Now, should we do something about how 99.9% of the kingdoms don't want to face 1960 after this? And how over half the kingdoms in the game are either dead or create boring KvKs which kill the game? No, Jimmy, no. Now you don't get your sticker. Yes, both 1960 and 2377 spent copious amounts of money, undoubtedly making this KvK the most expensive KvK in all of Rise of Kingdoms history. To think, nearly every single person spent to max tech, and by maxing tech, I mean every single crystal bundle there possibly was. And while 1960 and 2377 spent hundreds of thousands and Lilith soaked in the benefits, this video is still not sponsored. Life is really confusing. But hey, past the spending, you had two kingdoms that were gearing up to throw every single troop, resource, speed up, and gem at each other to show the rock community who the better kingdom is. This was never more evidently seen than during the pre-KvK. However, it's vital to understand that this was more than just 1960 versus 2377. It was a battle between Plotto Gaming and Cortex. But when the dust of pre-KvK settled and the opening of Lost Kingdom occurred, the two kingdoms dropped into the map. They had 10 days to prepare for fighting, 10 days to ask for time off from the jobs, and 10 days to build their crystal tech up as much as possible. You had barb grinding seen like never before. Players like Mr. Ho bin Amid Aziz gained over hundreds of thousands of honor points before Zone 5 even opened. Meanwhile, KvK tech was the first strategic move both sides made prior to the Ultimate War. What tech do they focus on? 6 marches or reduction of resources for healing? 2377 focused on 6 march tech, whilst 1960 focused on resource reduction. This means that 1960 not only would face more accounts, but also more marches. They were outnumbered, but they had something up their sleeves. DC Alano. Remember earlier in the video where I said 1960 only throws money at the game to win? That simply is just not true. You don't become the best kingdom in all of the game without the highest level strategy possible. But that is not to say that 2377 didn't have a major strategist on their side. Their king, Shark, was undeniably brilliant. This was more than just 1960 versus 2377. It was a battle between two of the best war strategists in all of Rise of Kingdoms history. One of the key strengths of 1960 was to always capture passes before enemies. This would allow them to place AFs down exactly where they want. They could be as aggressive as possible, but more importantly, it allows them to block off the next zone passes. So, how can 2377 overcome a clear disadvantage? Well, you just had to cut off the main pass swarmer's internet to prevent them from swarming the pass. Yes, SVIP, full crit, level 5 awakened sets, private jets, all of this. Yet your internet cuts out? Shame. Anyways, this allowed 2377 to place forts here. Meanwhile, 1960 had to react to these placements with forts. Now, a casual farmer like you might not understand this positioning, but 1960 faced an uphill battle immediately. The biggest advantage any kingdom can have in this KvK scenario is the ability to hold on to the passes for the next zone. Since 2377 got the pass first, they got complete access to build 2 AFs right on both passes to block 1960 off from doing the same. This meant if 1960 wanted an upper advantage in the next zones, they were on a timer to destroy these forts. If not, their whole reputation will be shattered, and the KvK might be completely lost. Meanwhile, both kingdoms used their ability to micromanage to build flags as fast as possible, creating more territory to take down each other's forts and to eventually run into one another. But the entirety of 1960 focused on taking down these forts. If not, then they would have far less territory in the next zone, and potentially less Kingsland passes. This would be terrible, even for a strong kingdom like 1960. So, the first 2 battles happened, the Battle of the South and the Battle of the North. The first battle, the South, occurred around 1543 UTC, when the first major flag fighting occurred, with 2377 showcasing their power by swarming a 1960 building flag. With 1 minute left to build, who will triumph? The swarm team from 2377 or the defense of 1960? 1960 wins. After this, 1960 needed a hard push to take down these forts. The only issue is that 2377 not only dropped a lot of forts, but focused their entire builds to secure this pass. So, who comes out on top? With heavy investments on both sides, 1960 pushed their entire ball to NB77's fort. 1960's long march provided 2377 to push their developing ball to keep their forts safe for now. But that was just for the moment, because when 1960 gets pushed back, they push even harder, even pushing the AO77 building fort. However, it was clear to see that 2377 just had way more marches than 1960. 1960 had no way to push the superior numbers of 2377. So to counter this, 1960 continued to build closer and closer to the forts. Eventually 1960 built close enough and teleported in enough members to send in the best infantry rally in the game towards the NB77 fort, Moles's Scipio Emilianus. With heavy field and swarm, 1960 destroyed the building fort. Yet there was way more forts to destroy, and 2377 wouldn't go down that easily. 1960's next target was the MX77 building fort. 2377 responded by not letting 1960's rally even touch their building fort. With just minutes left on the AO77 fort, 1960 made a desperate push with a last-ditch effort to attempt to destroy this fort, which quickly failed, the rally getting swarmed yet again by 2377. This was immediately followed up by an attempt to swarm down the fort without the rally by 1960. But by then, there was way too many 2377 marches and just not enough time, allowing 2377 to build all their remaining forts on the south South Pass. The Battle of the South went to 2377, meaning one pass is firmly in the hands of 2377. This meant the Battle of the North Pass 5 was all the more important. You remember when the 1960 pass swarmer didn't swarm due to their Wi-Fi cutting out, while allowed 2377 to drop 2 forts in the northern pass 5 to secure both passes into the next zone. This was bold from 2377, thinking they could secure both pass 5s from a nearly perfect kingdom like 1960. This boldness was reaffirmed when 2377 doubled down by dropping forts after forts to slow down 1960 from building to the pass. Yet 1960 kept pushing, but their effort was fruitless when both NS-77 forts became fully built, not only securing 2 level 5 passes for 2377, but creating a massive 2-front situation for 1960 to deal with. And following a quick, skillful craftsman, 2377 began to outflank 1960, and eventually 2377 would begin to take up lots of space within the zone. Soon 2377 would completely surround 1960